Hello, ladies and gentlemen. So we've now watched, or I should say, I've now watched the second episode of Star Wars Resistance. It was a lot shorter than the first one. Understandably, the first one's a premiere. They tend to double up on those kinds of episodes. But as I said there, I wasn't even expecting the second and third episodes to be released on the same day. It's a lot to kind of throw out in one go, but I'm not going to complain because it just means we get to watch more, Star Wars content. So yeah, moving on from the first episode, which I did quite enjoy. This episode was again another fun episode. Didn't take itself too seriously, and it really worked to just show us, that Kaz is very young and very out of his depth, and that there are more threats out there than just the First Order that he needs to worry about. It focused very much on him trying to be the big, brave spy. Getting himself into trouble with some of the thugs on the station, which again is a message you have to be careful of people who aren't necessarily affiliated with the First Order. And then the station being attacked by pirates who at the time we just assumed were there to steal stuff maybe or try and take control of the station. As it turned out, they're actually working for the First Order I think what the First Order's game plan is to have the pirates attack so much to show that the station can't defend itself. The New Republic is unlikely to offer any assistance. They probably don't know the Resistance is a thing, as sort of was mentioned in the episode. So they turn to the First Order for protection. And that's, I guess, the game plan. The question is, okay, the First Order wants the platform because it's a big source of fuel that's going to help them with their construction efforts and their fleet. I mean, for me, the First Order, it seems like their game plan would be far more direct. They would just want to move in and just take things. Major Vonreg, which is the red pilot, whose helmet looks very much like a Death Trooper's helmet, just in red, is the one who apparently suggested this plan to Captain Phasma. And maybe that's why they're trying to see it as a different, sort of tactic for the First Order. Maybe the First Order isn't ready to be so bold as to just outright attack a big platform like the station. And one thing that really kind of caught me in this episode is that there's a lot of combined technology here, and everything looks like it's been kind of put together from elements of older ships or older designs. The station itself has a very kind of Imperial design. Now I know the station is old. I'm assuming it was built by the Empire because it's got the same kind of turrets, and it's got even the sensor spheres that we see on the Star Destroyers, the Imperial Star Destroyers. It has one of those on top of the station, so I'm assuming it was built during the reign of the Empire. And so that's why the First Order knows its location. But even the ships, the first ship we saw in this episode was kind of an old-style CIS shuttle with the insect legs. It was kind of like an updated version of that, which was really cool to see. It's just a nice little throwback to, sort of the prequel era, and just shows you that there are still some ships that are either from that era or have taken their design from that era as well. The pirate ships, they seem to be a mix. The main ship looked like it had been constructed from a Lambda class shuttle in some way, shape or form, and the smaller ships looked almost like Jedi starfighters, which makes sense. Pirates, they're going to scrounge, they're going to try and construct what they can from any kind of materials and ships that they can find, which are probably going to be older ships. But again, this episode focused a lot on Kaz just being kind of out of his depth, and showing him getting into all kinds of troubles. He doesn't, surprisingly enough, doesn't really know a lot about mechanics, which I assume being a pilot in any kind of form would require at least a little bit of mechanical knowledge. And I know he says that he was more used to new ships than the older design ships, but really, how different can they really be? There must be a similar kind of design for the ships, or parts must be interchangeable. There must be a basic amount of knowledge you need to share between all types of ships. So that was a little bit surprising, I guess, and that's probably the only thing I would say that I didn't like about the episode, was him just not knowing much about mechanics. But other than that, him going around and being a bumbling fool, getting himself into trouble across the station, just to show him being naive and kind of out of his depth. I was all cool with that, because it's a bit of fun. Again, it helped show that there's bigger threats out there at the moment in the immediate sort of time frame. And he really has to start working on his cover, otherwise he is going to get found out. And the chances are the people who are going to find out are the people who are going to be the most dangerous. Because, whoever's working for the First Order is going to be on their toes and making sure that they're not found out. We got introduced to some of the other characters for the first time here. Only briefly, I guess the likes of Bo Keevil, and, the other female pilot, I can't remember her name specifically. I think is it Tam? Tam was her name. And they all seem capable pilots. I like how they all double up as the station's defenses. They're like, oh, well, we race, but we're also capable pilots, that we can defend the station ourselves. So that's a pretty interesting way to kind of, mix in their roles at the station. And they're called Ace Squadron, which we already knew, but that's the first time they've really been referred to as Ace Squadron. So I've got a feeling that there's going to be a continuation of this theme of the First Order showing up at the very end of the episode, just giving you a little bit of sort of information on each episode on what their plans are and what they're doing, and then it'll probably come towards the end of the season, and that's when we'll really see them kind of spring out and get more involved. But again, no, this was an interesting episode, just showing how, Kaz is adapting to life on the station. He's kind of integrating in some ways, in other ways not so much. Interesting that the statue that he's got, which I understand has emotional significance to him, is worth a lot of money. It's like, especially with it being kind of bent now, it's like, I wonder if he's tempted to kind of sell it and just, give himself the best chance at life on the station. That'd certainly help him, provide some upgrades to the Fireball. And then if he wins, he can go and live a good life of luxury in the tower. And I guess I would throw him more into the spotlight, though, which is what you don't want as a spy. You don't want to be in the spotlight. You want to kind of be hidden away. And inconspicuous, I think, is the word. But yeah, it was a solid second episode. Still fun. Just showing a bit of a different side to life on the station. Establishing, again, some of the other characters. Just giving, things to do for Kaz. And I'm just looking forward to seeing where the show goes. Because, it's... These immediate episodes are just going to be based on the station and just setting things up later down the line in the seasons, where we're going to see the wider galaxy as a whole, and when we're going to really start getting the First Order involved. And that's when it's going to really start getting interesting. But it's been a good start so far. I don't think anyone really would have too much to complain about. It's been good. So anyway, I would love very much to know what you thought of that episode, guys. So let me know in the comments below, and I will see you for the review of the next episode.